Hey, hey, Nate Miller here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It is a great day to be alive, and it's a wonderful day for us to get together and have this live stream here this Tuesday. Thank you for joining me. I've got a lot to go over today. I'm going to teach you the best way to make sure that your performance is up to date and that you're getting the most out of yourself. This is a quick and easy way to figure out if there's ways that you can improve your performance with not much added effort. So I'm excited to share that with you today. I have a great coaching question about how to know if you're successful that I'm going to go over. And I'm also going to announce the winner of my latest book giveaway. So thank you for joining. I know that you're going to get a lot out of today's lesson. This is something that has a lot packed into it in a short amount of time. So let's get to it. All right, this is a live and interactive live stream. This is my level 10 live stream, and there's 3 ways that you can ask. You can ask your question on this post, or you can shoot me an email at info@thenatemiller.com, or you can shoot me a message through Facebook Messenger. I will be checking these throughout our live stream. If you have any kind of question that comes up about what I'm presenting, or you have your own question that you would like to be coached on, or if you just have a comment about what we're discussing, those are 3 ways that you can interact with me live here today. So thank you for joining. I want to tell you just a little bit about myself. My name is Nate Miller. I'm a professional speaker. I'm a former healthcare executive. I was a hospital CEO for several years. Then I developed my own hospital consulting company, was the president of that, and from there moved into leadership development. And the reason why I moved into leadership was because out of all the places that I went to help people, whether it was a healthcare organization or non-healthcare organization, the people that struggled all lacked inspirational leadership. And I saw that if people would develop their leaders and to become inspirational leaders, they would dramatically improve their performance, and it would happen at a much accelerated rate. So I got really focused on that, and I figured out that was a way to help a lot of people, a lot of organizations. If you've ever been frustrated by poor leadership, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Or if you've ever been inspired by an inspirational leader, you know how powerful that is too. And right now, I think the world is starving for inspirational leaders. So that's why it's my mission to go out and make as many inspirational leaders as I can, because that is what it's going to take to change our world. All right. So today, what I'm going to share with you, before I get to that, I have a book giveaway. I give away one of my books. It's The Secret to Winning Big. It was a bestseller. It hit 5 bestseller lists. Co-authored this with Brian Tracy. And to be entered, all you have to do is tag a friend in the comment below this video. That's all you have to do to be entered, and you will be entered for a chance to win my best-selling book. I will personalize it, autograph it, send it to you at my cost. So this week's winner is Ramey Kent. So Ramey, if you would send me through Facebook Messenger or email at info@thenatemiller.com your address, I will get this signed and shipped out to you as soon as I get that. I'll try to contact you as well, just in case you're not watching this. But that's all you have to do to enter to win. A free book, hardback copy, is coming your way, and you can enter to win as well. All you have to do is tag a friend in the comment section. All right, so today what we're going to be going over is the 7th sin of my series. I have a free report called The 7 Deadly Sins of Leadership. And I'm going to be going over the 7th sin because it is something that can dramatically improve your performance, and it's something that people typically get backwards. And if people can master this, they will see significant improvement in their performance, and they will also see a significant reduction in their stress because they're spending their time focused on what matters most, which is important. All right, so what I'm going to do before I get into that is I'm going to hop on my phone here, and I'm going to hop on the live stream, and I'm going to post a link get into that is I'm going to hop on my phone here. My volume down here. And I'm going to post a link where you can get the 7 deadly sins of leadership. You can get the full report. It's jam-packed with information. All you have to do is go on and you can download that report for free. But this is the 7th sin, and it's something that I've had lots of coaching clients that I've been dealing with that have needed this, so I thought it'd be great for everybody to go over as well. So we're going to hop over into a presentation here. And like I said, this is avoidable sin number 7. This is working on your weaknesses. This is something that people mess up and get wrong all the time. I did it for certain until I finally figured out the right way to do this. And this is something that will dramatically improve your results. So you heard me correctly. Stop trying to get good at something you are naturally bad at. And we all have these areas. We all have areas of strengths and we all have areas of weaknesses. You spend valuable time and money only buying yourself frustration when you focus on your weaknesses. And this is something from being an executive, being a consultant, being a high performance coach, executive coach, that I've figured out is people spend an inordinate amount of time on their weaknesses. And we're going to talk about why you will not get the results you like when you go down this path. When you work on your weaknesses, this sucks up energy and brain power. Think about something that you're naturally good at and think about something that you're naturally bad at, have lots of difficulty with. The thing that you're really good at, you can do it with ease, with less effort. The thing that you're naturally not good at, it takes a lot of mental energy, it takes a lot of physical energy, it takes a lot of focus. You really have to change how you do this. For example, like when I'm driving in a big city, like if I'm driving here in my hometown, I'll listen to the music, I'll talk to people. But if I get into a big town where there's lots of traffic or I don't know where I'm going, I turn the radio off, I tell everybody to be quiet. I've got to use all my focus and energy and effort to get where I'm going. And this is the same thing. It's when you spend all of your energy and focus doing something bad, you don't have as much left to focus on the good, and it takes significantly more energy. Because the most you will ever achieve is marginal improvement. If you're naturally bad at something, if you naturally have a weakness, the most that you can do, no matter how much energy and effort you put into it, you're only going to get marginal results. This is a great example that I'm really surprised at, and this is something that I was a former college football player, and I heard this example that Coach Wooden talked about, and it really piqued my curiosity because it was exactly opposite of what we did, and we had a very successful team. We won our conference every year. I was there at Central Arkansas, and we won the national championship, small college national championship in 1991. And we would spend hours watching videos of other teams. Our coaches would start by breaking down film from other teams. They would watch it for hours and hours and hours. They would develop their game plan from it. Then we would watch it together as a group. And then we were expected to watch film in our own time between classes or in the evenings. And we were just trying to figure out, what weaknesses could they exploit of ours? Any preferences that we could pick up on the video. Do they step this way? Do they stunt this way? Do they do this with their linebackers? Whatever we could pick up from the video, we spent a lot of time doing that. Well, here's what Coach Wooden said. He said, I do not watch game film from my opponents because if we just focus on what we're good at, if we focus on improving ourselves, it doesn't matter what the other team does. And this is a prime example of what we're talking about here with working on your strengths as opposed to working on your weaknesses. And if you don't know who Coach Wooden is, he is probably the most legendary basketball coach in the history of basketball, won many championships at UCLA. His team still hold records today. They were just phenomenal. Had some great players play for him as well. Incredible coach. So let me tell you about my personal example about focusing on my weakness. One of my huge weaknesses is personal organization. I mean, I am not good at it whatsoever. And it's, traditional organization of filing things and putting things away and being very organized, having everything where it needs to be. I always had the messy desk. I always had piles on my desk. I had piles on my floor. I had piles everywhere. And it was something that I typically would get marked negatively on my performance appraisals or my reviews by my supervisors was my organization. And I mean, I wanted to be good. I wanted to be, get really high scores in all areas of my performance review. And so it really drove me nuts. So I spent countless hours trying to become organized. I bought every kind of planner you can think of. I bought every kind of filing system, organizing system. I talked to people that were really good at organization, how they did it. What do you do? What do you do with this file? And because whenever I would try to put things in files, I never knew where they were. Like I would create all these files and I would take these piles off my desk and file them away. And then somebody would come ask me for something. And I had no idea. I would think like, okay, which file did I put that in? What did I file that under? But if I had it on a pile on my desk, I knew right where it was. So I really put a lot of effort into this. And the most I could ever achieve after a significant amount of effort was very marginal levels of traditional organization. When I finally discovered the concept of focusing on your strengths, I stopped trying to be good at organization. And it really helped me become more successful because I was putting my effort into my strengths. So, focusing on your strengths. Here's a couple of great examples. Tiger Woods, when he was early in his career, he was horrible at sand traps. Like he couldn't, if he hit his ball in a sand trap, it took him several strokes just to get out of the sand trap. So it stands to reason, what do you think he spent his time working on? Naturally, you would assume he would spend a lot of time focusing on hitting out of the sand traps. Getting down and practice hitting, hundreds of balls out of the sand. But that's exactly opposite of what he did. He focused his effort on his strength, which was his long drives and his long irons. And he got so good at that, he avoided the sand. Now, he would hit the sand. If you're a golfer, you're going to hit the ball in sand every now and then. And he got just good enough, to where he was okay at sand, but he spent all of his effort on his strengths, avoiding the sand on his long drives and his long irons. Another great example is the Chinese ping pong team. In 1984, the Chinese have always been excellent at ping pong. And in 1984, they had a very dominant team. They won the gold at the previous Olympics. They were expected to win the gold at this Olympics, and they did. But they were at a press conference, and they asked their coach, what is a typical day like with your team? And he said, well, we get into practice and we focus on improving our strengths. And so somebody said, can you give us a little more, a reporter said, can you give us a little more detail? And the Chinese coach said, well, let me give you an example of one of our best players, our top players. All he practices is his forehand. He does not have a backhand. And his opponents know that he can't hit a backhand. But because he focuses so much on his forehand, it is so dominant that even though his opponents know he can't hit a backhand, he still beats them every time. And I can't pronounce the player's name, but he went on to win the gold that year. So that's just there's two prime examples of how powerful focusing on your strengths is for your performance. So we have to recognize that there is cause and effect, and that effort going into one thing will not produce the same results as effort going into another thing. And so what we're going to talk about now is the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, and how this comes into play with your strengths and weaknesses. 80% of your results comes from 20% of your efforts. I'm not going to go too much into the Pareto principle, but you can look that up. But it's an old standard law that on average, 80% of your results will come from 20% of your efforts. 20% of your results will come from 80% of your efforts. And this holds true across many industries. 80% of medical resources are consumed by 20% of the sickest people. 80% of insurance claims in car accidents, automobile accidents, are from 20% of the insurance carriers' drivers. And this rule holds true for lots of different levels. It's kind of amazing and phenomenal how this holds true, but this is where focusing on your strengths is so powerful. So, if you are spending 80% of your effort on something that's only going to improve and cause you to have 20% productivity, that is going to be far less productive than spending 20% of your time producing 80% of your results. So what you have to do, instead of focusing on this 80% to get 20%, which is weaknesses, results, is focus 80% of our effort into the 20% that is producing our results. So you just flip the script around. You spend your time and focus on the 20% that gives you 80% of the results, and you will see exponential growth in your results. And that is how you shift the inequality into your favor. And this is why focusing on your weaknesses is so damaging, and focusing on your strengths produces such dramatic results. So here is how you can figure out what your strengths are. So I ask people when I coach them, I say, all right, tell me what your strengths are. And sometimes they'll say, oh, I'm good at, organization. I'm really good at talking to people. They can list one or two, and then they have trouble with the rest. Or sometimes people don't have trouble listing any strengths that they have. They can immediately list off their weaknesses, but they have trouble with their strengths. So here's how you can find out what your strengths are. And this is action item that I want you to do from this live stream, is figure out what your strengths are. Seek independent validation of your strengths. And there's lots of ways to do this. But what I recommend is to go to your peers. Well, let me back up. First, think about what your peers come to ask you. Like when they need help with something, what is it they come to you to receive help from? That's going to be a big clue of what your strengths are, because they know if they come to you that you can help them. So go talk to 7 or 8, 10 of your peers and say, what do you think? I'm doing a poll. I'm trying to improve my performance. I really want to focus on my strengths. What do you think some of my strengths are? And you can avoid any kind of, weirdness or awkwardness with people by asking them what your weaknesses are, because people typically don't like to share that, but they're more than comfortable to share with you what your strengths are. You can do, a 360 evaluation, if you've ever done one of those, where you ask people below you, above you, all around you, your strengths and weaknesses. That's, a more in-depth way of learning. But I just recommend going to, 7, 10 of your peers, go to your supervisor, go to people below you, go to your peers, and just ask them what they think your strengths are. And you'll notice that, some people, one person will say something and nobody else does, but you'll see a pattern emerge of what the majority of people think that your strengths are. And that's a pretty good sign of what your strengths are. So that's a great way to figure out what your strengths are. And once you know your strengths, then you really focus on improving those strengths. And if you've been working on something that is a weakness that people didn't say was one of your strengths, and you've been putting a lot of energy and effort into it, let go of that. Now you do have to be, have a marginal level of competence, but you don't have to put a lot of effort into having a marginal level of competence in a weakness. If you will take that energy and focus it on your strengths, you will be amazed at what you're going to be able to accomplish. And you will also be amazed, because this is something that I have certainly experienced, and the people I coach, they experience it as well. You are going to remove so much frustration because you've tried to put a lot of energy and effort into getting good at something you're just not going to be good at. And if you focus on that, like when I focused on organization, I was so frustrated because I was like, I put all this energy and effort into it and I just can't get good at it. So you're just going to say, okay, this is a weakness of mine. And I'm not just going to not put any effort into it, but I'm going to put, about 20% effort into these weaknesses. And I'm going to put the other 80% of my effort into my strengths. And that is going to incrementally and dramatically improve my results. So do this and you will be amazed at what you can accomplish. All right, I'm going to pause here just a second and look to see if anybody has any questions or comments. If you have any questions or comments, just pop those in the comment section under this video. All right, I don't see anything. So we are going to move on. Let me get us back out of the presentation here. All right, so a coaching question I had that I'm going to address today is, how do I know, and I'm paraphrasing, how do I know I'm on the right track? How do I know I'm being successful? And this is something that whenever I was a consultant and I was going into an organization to, help them improve their results, I would ask the people that I was talking to, and typically I'm meeting with, I meet from everybody at all layers of an organization when I go in and consult with them. I'll meet with the CEO all the way down to the employees, on the floor, in the factory, if it's healthcare, at the bedside, janitors, whoever. Because I like to get a good picture of, how things are at the top and then how that is communicated throughout the organization. But I always ask people at all levels, I'll say, what are your key performance indicators? Like, what indicators do you look at to be able to know that you're being successful or not? And surprisingly, a lot of people don't really know, or they'll be able to list one or two, or they go to the standard, well, it's how much money we make, or it's how many products we produce, or, something like that. So one of the things that I always did whenever I was consulting, it brought me a lot of success when I was in business for myself, and I have worked outside of healthcare. I've owned a restaurant, and I've owned some other businesses as well. I always had what I call key performance indicators. So like I had 6 or 7 things that I kept a constant watch on, 6 or 7 metrics that I knew that if I was working or that if I was improving in these areas, I was being successful. Because what happens so many times is people feel like, they in their gut, they feel like, okay, things are getting better, we're moving in the right direction, and they take their eyes off of these key performance indicators because they feel like things are heading in the right direction. And the next thing they know, their key performance indicators have dropped, and they feel like, when things turn south, they start looking at them and they realize that they've made some really huge drops in these key performance indicators, and it's just because they took their eyes off of it. So you have to have these indicators, and you have to make sure that you watch those and keep up with them, whether it's daily. Some indicators can be daily, some indicators can be weekly, some can be monthly, but keep up with these indicators. Know which one are the key metrics that will show success within your organization, and then you figure out how to impact those. You have to be what is called data driven. You have to make sure that what you are producing, what you're putting your effort and focus into, is impacting your key performance indicators, is impacting what you consider to be successful. And these are different things for different businesses. But you have to know these, and these have to be communicated throughout your organization. So you can look at this from an organizational level, having key performance indicators, and you can also look at them from a personal level. I highly encourage you to have personal key performance indicators. Whatever it is, it could be how many, your salesman, it could be how many things you sell, what your commission is. It could be, a cost reduction, how much your department, or how much you personally are saving or costing your organization. It could be, what your, good key here of something to look at is your performance review, and kind of figure out what's, carries the most weight in your performance review, and make sure that you're really focusing on those key indicators. But that's just a way to make sure that you're being successful, because people put a lot of energy and effort into being successful, and they really don't know where they're going because they're not measuring their results, and they're not monitoring, they're not data driven. Because sometimes I tell you, you'll feel like you'll be heading, your key performance indicators will be going up, and you'll feel like, doesn't feel right, doesn't feel like I'm heading in the right direction. And other times, even though you are, and other times it'll feel like, man, this is great. We're moving forward. We're doing exactly what we need to do, but your key performance indicators are falling. So you have to be data. If it feels great and your key performance indicators are dropping, you've got to change things and you've got to figure out how to impact those key performance indicators, and same conversely. So that is how you know that you are being successful. All right. Hey, I appreciate you taking the time. I'm going to check one last time to see. I know we have some people on here live. And if you're watching to this point, let me ask you, if you found today valuable, please share this. Please like it, share it with other people, tag other people in the comment section that you feel like could benefit from what we've discussed today. And hey, if you tag somebody in the comment section, you're going to be registered to win a copy of my book. So that's a double benefit there. But please, if you found value in this, share it to your friends, and just let's get the word out. I am happy to help you any way that I possibly can. Please send me an email at info@thenatemiller.com. Any coaching questions you have. If you're stuck with a problem, if you're dealing with something at work, if you're dealing with employee issues, or you're having conflict, anything that's going on that I can coach you with and help you with, be sure to email me, and I can keep it confidential. A lot of people send me emails and they request to be anonymous on these live streams. They don't want to have their name read, or anything that could give them away. That is no problem at all. All you have to do is say, hey, I'd like this to be anonymous, and I will read the question and I'll coach you to the best of my ability. But I appreciate you taking the time to watch this today, and I do these every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central. So tune in, mark it on your calendar and tune in, and let's just have this time together to improve our skills, improve our performance, and become better individuals within our organizations. And I tell you what, take what you've learned here today, because it's my mission, and go out and inspire somebody. Go out and lift somebody up. Go out and help somebody. Take these skills that I've taught you today, that we've talked about, go help somebody else work on their strengths. Tell them, help somebody else to not spend so much energy and effort on their weaknesses. Help them improve their performance. That is the key thing that makes somebody inspirational, is wanting to help others out. So apply it yourself and take it and teach it to other people, help them become better as well. All right, thanks again for taking the time, and I will see you next week.